The Monaco Grand Prix is the best opportunity Red Bull's rivals have to defeat Formula One's dominant team. 5 races and 1 sprint into 2023, Red Bull has won every time. Only twice has it missed out on a 1-2 finish, and it has had a decisive pace advantage in every race. So why should we expect things to be any different at Monaco? Well, there are good reasons why Red Bull might be more vulnerable, giving its rivals an opportunity to win on merit. That's down to a combination of the strengths and weaknesses of the Red Bull and the unique Monaco track that might just open the door to a surprise result. Make no mistake, Red Bull is favourite heading into Monaco. That's because, as it has shown repeatedly this season, it has comfortably the fastest race car. That's unlikely to change at Monaco. That means a 7th Monte Carlo win for Red Bull is eminently possible. But there are reasons why Red Bull could face a situation where its pace is contained by cars ahead, and that is dependent on one or more of its rivals taking advantage of the closest thing to a weakness the Red Bull RB19 has: qualifying pace. That might seem an absurd claim to make about a team that has taken pole position for 4 out of 5 Grand Prix in 2023, but throughout the season, Red Bull has been under far more pressure in qualifying than on race day. While on Sundays the Red Bull has been in another league, qualifying has always been more difficult. Although it's been on pole position at every circuit except Baku, where Ferrari's Charles Leclerc set the pace, the margins have often been slender. The primary problem Red Bull has battled in qualifying is front tyre warm-up. This is likely thanks to the aggressive levels of anti-dive in the front suspension that also reduces brake feel and makes it easier to lock up. At Short Sharp Monaco, this could be a particular problem. The formidable platform control Red Bull has thanks to the anti-dive front suspension and its rear suspension system, which incorporates both anti-squat and anti-lift elements, allows the car to run lower than its rivals while maintaining the compliance needed to ride curbs and bumps well. But it comes at the small cost of making the car trickier under braking. This led to problems for Sergio Perez in Australia, while even in the race, Max Verstappen had a quick lock-up and visit to the grass while on his way to victory. But even when not struggling with that, it is difficult for the Red Bulls to build front tyre temperature. This could prove particularly problematic at Monaco, with just a short 2-mile low-speed circuit to get the front tyres in the right window and the need for confidence in the front end. Monaco is also a circuit that will dampen the advantage conferred by one of Red Bull's many strengths, notably its aero efficiency. Both with the DRS open and closed, it's formidable on the straights, and there aren't many of those in Monaco. This could also make qualifying a little more difficult. This could, therefore, leave Red Bull more exposed to being out-qualified, and as history shows us, if you start behind at Monaco, it can be very difficult to get ahead. The last time there was a pass for the lead at Monaco outside of the start was in the 1996 race, when Williams driver Damon Hill overtook Jean Alesi's Benetton on the run up the hill out of Saint-Devote. Even then, that was skewed by the fact Hill had just pitted for slicks, with Alesi battling on with wets. But Red Bull is well aware of the potential weaknesses. Like all teams, it can afford to focus disproportionately on qualifying pace at Monaco. There will be set-up compromises that can be made to mitigate its front tyre warm-up challenges in the hope of being able to take pole position. It can also afford to compromise its straight-line speed strength and bring a high downforce, more draggy wing to trade some of that off for corner performance. This means it's no foregone conclusion that one of Max Verstappen or Sergio Perez won't be on pole position for the race. If a Red Bull driver is, a clean run should net victory. But in what has been a season of Red Bull dominance, there's the tantalising prospect of a more difficult Sunday for the team. The question is, who is best placed to make life difficult for Red Bull? Aston Martin has been best of the rest behind Red Bull in 3 out of 5 Grand Prix so far this year. That means it's established as the team most likely to pick up the pieces if Red Bull has a bad day. Fernando Alonso will certainly fancy his chances. He made that clear with a comment to Max Verstappen in the cool-down room before the podium ceremony in Miami, where they were discussing the ease with which the Red Bull driver had caught and passed him. Given Red Bull's potential vulnerability in qualifying, it's possible to envisage a situation where Alonso, who won Monaco from pole position for Renault in 2006 and McLaren in 2007, starts at the front. If he does that, history suggests he could stay there. That raises the possibility of a win on merit. The Aston Martin has been strong on brakes and in slow corners, so should suit Monaco well. It has also been a consistent and predictable car that will allow Alonso and teammate Lance Stroll to attack. But as Aston Martin performance director Tom McCulloch says, it's unclear how Aston Martin will stack up against Red Bull in qualifying, with both in Monaco trim. While there's hope at Aston Martin that Monaco could allow it to spring a surprise against Red Bull in qualifying, as McCulloch says, Aston Martin has made itself look a bit better relative to some because of the size of the rear wing it tends to run. What we can be sure of is that if Aston Martin has the car to outqualify Red Bull and the rest, in Alonso it has a driver capable of making the most of it and a team able to execute the race well. Ferrari is the only team to have beaten Red Bull in qualifying this year, with Charles Leclerc taking pole position for both the sprint and the Grand Prix in Azerbaijan. When it works, the Ferrari is a quick car, and it has shown well on street circuits before, with Monaco likely to suit it even better than Baku. The trouble is, it's hardly been the easiest car to drive. Both Leclerc and teammate Carlos Sainz have complained about it being peaky and unpredictable, with rear-end instability in particular in higher speed sections. Sainz even complained about the inconsistency, making it hard to push in the race in Miami with any confidence. That might sound like terrible news for Ferrari's Monaco chances, given it's a track that rewards precision and confidence. But it's a lower speed track that should play more to the strengths of the car, even if it could get a little lively in the quicker corners, such as the entry to the swimming pool section. What's more, Ferrari also has one of the best on the streets of Monaco in home hero Leclerc. He took pole position in 2021 and 22 and reckoned that the aborted second Q3 lap last year was one of his best, before Sergio Perez caused the red flag. Leclerc is quick at Monaco in a car that has already proven it has the potential to qualify ahead of the Red Bulls in the right circumstances, so he can't be counted out, and teammate Sainz has twice finished second at Monaco, meaning both drivers could be in the mix. Mercedes is the wild card for Monaco. It will introduce the major upgrade package that was originally planned for Imola, so it's difficult to predict how competitive the troubled W14 will be. Mercedes will be up against it at Monaco. It has a modified front suspension, new floor and side pods that represents a shift in development direction. While it is expected to confer an immediate performance advantage, it's really the first step in a long-term recovery plan. While this spec of car was always planned to run at Monaco, Mercedes would have gathered extensive real-world data on it beforehand had the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix happened. Instead, it will be battling to understand its modified car at a tight, twisty and bumpy track that is far from ideal. But if the car works well and the rear-end instability isn't so much of an issue, then Mercedes could be able to spring a surprise. Lewis Hamilton has won at Monaco 3 times. 6 if you count his F3 and GP2 successes there in 2005 and 6, and George Russell has shown well in Monaco, outperforming Hamilton there last year. Mercedes certainly has the drivers, but until the upgraded W14 hits the track, we have no idea if they have the car. It can only be considered an outsider, given so much depends on getting on top of a very different package so quickly. So there are 3 teams that maybe could challenge Red Bull at Monaco, as well as the possibility of one of the midfielders lucking into being ahead thanks to safety car timing or well-timed strategy calls if there's inclement weather. This is Monaco, so the key will be what happens on Saturday afternoon. If Red Bull is at the front, and it definitely could be, then victory will be a foregone conclusion, barring misfortune. But Red Bull's rivals have their best chance yet of getting ahead in qualifying at Monaco, and if one or more of Aston Martin, Ferrari or Mercedes can do that, chances are they will stay there and win the race.